the exact same heart rate, everything, as if they were running that race. And but that takes mindfulness, that takes staying away from distraction. And unfortunately, today's athlete has that phone always around and buzzing, and it is tough for them to have that locked in mentality of seeing this over and over again. But yes, I saw that. There were many times I didn't even have my basketball with me, and I still shoot the ball that way. I can see it go through the net, and that's the power that I saw and use with my own athletes. Many times I test them during practice to visualize, to see if they will see it, a play, before I even draw it. That's what I really want to do.
Man. Hey, Johnny, man, this is some good information, brother. Thank you so much. So, it just makes me think. So, we have some ball players that I'm sure that are tuning in, but we have a lot of other people that do a lot of other things. But as I'm listening to you speak about your form of visualization, man, I could just see whoever's tuning in for whatever they do, whatever it is that they're into. It doesn't matter if they're a dancer, if they're a CEO of Boeing, it doesn't really matter. But that the power of visualization could be really a useful tool for anything that anybody does. Would you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, even if you were going to a table to negotiate a business deal, you have to see how it was going to go before it even happened, so that way you can make adjustments when it does. That's the power of it. Just to see how it's going to look and how successful it's going to be. It takes practice. Again, it takes mindfulness. You have to get quiet and think inside without, the brain calculating, so many other things that you want to be doing, or the distractions that happen, because there is noise everywhere. It's all over the place. Even as we're speaking, if my phone isn't on mute, it's buzzing from all kinds of different angles. And that I'm sure everybody can attest to, that what's their attention span currently? How dedicated are they going to be to see that success that they're really looking for?
Okay, you know what? I had the next question that I had. I'm actually just gonna put that down the line a little bit because of something that you just said, which made me think of the follow-up question to that. So yes, Johnny, man, dude, there's so many distractions out there in the world, phones buzzing, all kinds of stuff going on. So what is your method to singularly focus? How do you get your athletes, your ball players, to just think about the task at hand and not be doing, not paying attention to those thousands of distractions that are out there?
Well, it's complicated for a professional athlete because many people judge them on just the transaction, the wins and losses only, and forget that they are coming to the table just like anybody else with a life full of distraction. So you try to minimize that as best as possible, and yet not make it unrealistic as well, because I still need them to perform under situations that require distractions. So I make my practice sessions like a classroom. There is a whiteboard, and they're going to see what the daily plan is going to look like. And they can see that part first and foremost as part of their focus, to see like, okay, this is how the day goes. No, what are they calculating in their mind? I have no idea. But they get to see like, here's where it's going to be rough. Here's where it might not be so hard. I don't know. But I want them to see and visualize the expectations I'm going to put in front of them. Like, there are goals in front of them. It's up to them to reach them. Some days we do, some days we don't. But I also need to be realistic and add failure. a lot of it, because everybody thinks winning is just the thing. Not everybody wins, man. And a lot of people lose a lot in life, and you lose a lot, and that's the difference. Is what did you take it personally that that's your ego and you're defined by a win or a loss? It's a lesson. And what did you get from it? You have to learn from what happened to it that allowed this to happen. So currently, Chris, I'm in a first year franchise, first year ever, and so my methodology of coaching is transformational. I don't focus on the transaction. I need to transform the person, and that person needs to come to the table with a willingness to stay focused for the entire time I've got you. And then I'm going to add distractions. There's going to be failure in there. How are you going to handle the failure? The ego plays a big role in a lot of these things, because that's what they don't want to have. But if we don't know how to deal with it, how do we go from there? There's not one person in any endeavor that has not failed. So in my practice sessions, aside from that whiteboard, I'll throw in music, I'll throw in noise, I'll throw in intentional fouls not being called, just to see the reaction of failure that will come, and the distractions of the noise and not hearing one another, and so that when we get into a situation and a timeout, I can simply look at them and go, we've been in this position before.
Yeah.
Just like practice.
Mm-hmm.
What's many times right now during I'm in the halfway part of the season. Many times right now at timeouts, I'm not drawing anything. Simply looking at them, saying, deep breath, calm down. Have we not been in this position before? How do we chip away at something? Inch by inch, it's little by little, and you start to put the blocks in front of them. Like if, let's say you're down 20, I start to say, it needs to get down to 10. If it gets down to 10, then I'll call a timeout. Okay, so they got a small goal to reach, and it gets down to 10. Now we get to 6. I'm gonna call another one. I only have 5 in a total game, but 3 in the second half. So it's to let them know, like, these are the little chopping blocks. This is what we need to get to. It's the game within the game, but it's that visualization with a bunch of distractions, and then just going, okay, so they scored on us. Doesn't matter. We have to turn right back around. There's so many other things to be thinking about aside from, oh my God, I'm defined as a failure, and put your head down. No way. There's too many other things to be doing. And I think that's the downside of a lot of athletes, is that they cannot handle that part of failing. And so as a consequence, that's where blame and deflection of responsibility happens. It's not my fault, it's your fault. And then therefore, that's where teams just collapse.
Man, that's really, really good. I'm loving this. All right, so so here on the podcast, the Positive Mindset Movement, we talk about focusing on the positive first, and then taking that positive focus and transferring every single thing that you do into personal and professional success. So does a positive mindset help your team in sports? What's the role of a positive mindset, if there is one?
Oh, there are lots of things that we can think about that are wrong in life. There's also lots of things that are great. So the very first thing that I do, like I live on the road a lot, right? So I'm overseas. I put my apartment into a positive mindset all the time. I try to make it that way. For example, I have a cutout that I put on the window that looks out to my sunrise that says, wake up every morning with the thought that something wonderful is about to happen. That's the first thing. And I stare at this all day long while I'm in my apartment because it looks out. And so that gives me that first outlook. Then pictures of my children gives me another happy outlook. And then pictures of what I want to see. Like I love rivers and waterfalls. So I have a giant picture of that. This is what I surround myself with so that I can get out of my comfort here and take that to the next phase, because I now know, like, what am I now going to deal with? Something else is going to come in, an obstacle in my way. And I need to be reminded, hey, you know, as bad as something is, there's always something good too. You just have to look for that as well, because it's easy to find the negative. It's really simple to find that. So that's what I do to try to build my own armor and then go out into the world and then try to let them see, like, do I walk the walk, you know, or do I throw a tantrum when something doesn't go right? The only time I will do that, Chris, and lose my mind is when I don't see effort.
Okay.
That's different. You know, that's when I have lost my mind with my players throughout my coaching career. Really, you know, it's like if effort isn't there and your attitude isn't there, and you multiply that times your skill set, well, that equals your performance. Totally equals your performance. You know, and so that message has to be said over and over again, because they don't hear that. They're so built into transaction. Did I win 20 games this year? Did I score 40? What happens if you don't? You know, well, they go into the tank, and they're not defined by that anymore. I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. You got to be defined by something more than that. I'm not a basketball coach only. I transform your life, man. I mean, I tell all my athletes, man, if you play for me, I'm transforming you somehow, some way. There was some reason I'm here to do. I'm supposed to teach you something else. And I learned that from other great coaches along the journey too. Like, it's not basketball. There's more to it.
Yeah, that's a great segue into the next question. So, you know, nowadays a big thing is in the workforce is, you know, the work-life balance. How do we balance our personal and professional life? So what's your strategy to balance your personal and your professional life?
Well, I try not to take myself so seriously that I am a head basketball coach and that I'm all that. Here in the Japanese culture, it is seen as something tremendous that you are this head coach. People will bow. You get enormous respect. And if you're not grounded, then that goes to, you know, you can abuse that and think that you are, like, I guess, you know, like you're a king kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's not it. You know, I know who I am. I'm just, like I told you before when you asked me, just a simple kid from the south side of Tucson, fortunate enough to have an education, go to an incredible high school that I was surrounded by like-minded individuals, and people took an interest in me and allowed me to flourish. So that's what I do. I take an interest in others, find passion in other things. I am an active reader. I search for good things that inspire me and, you know, learn from others, listen to podcasts all the time. I'm curious. I want to learn. I want to see. I want to enjoy others, because I learned that a long time ago, man. I was when I led the country in scoring, I got the chance to meet some incredible people. One of them was Coach John Wooden of UCLA. Oh, and in the basketball world, this is God, you know. And so when I saw him and I was invited to work with him and to be at his basketball camp, when he walked, I stopped one day. I just froze. I was like, oh, that's Coach Wooden, this is amazing. And